It's Rockin' and Rappin', a podcast with a purpose. I'm Chris Cooper here with Alex and Fliz. Oh no, that's not Alex. It's not Ben.
Alex?
Don't you hate it when they recast a character and just act like nobody's going to notice? The audience always knows, though.
I thought you were
They always
twin
know.
brothers with Flizzo. That's what I heard.
They are.
That is what I heard as
We
well.
are.
That's the story.
That's
So
what
Ben,
convince
about
people.
it.
the Ben, this has been a long time coming. Is there anything that you've been bursting at the seams to say now that you're on the podcast in your pod?
Just usually yell at stuff at you. But I have my rap to start the
Ooh.
your show. I'm gonna wreck it. We're gonna wreck stuff. Just don't want to infringe on copyrights. The name's Benny C, and I'm rock the telly. I'm half Joe Camel and a third Fonzarelli. I'm the kung fu hippie from Gangsta City. I'm a rapping surfer. You're the fool I pity. No one's going to the fireworks factory today. Sorry, boys.
Amen.
I like how you start that off with not to offend copyrights. And then...
It's I changed. It's original. It's my song.
I appreciate bringing a rap. Alex, do you have a vote for
no,
wrecking or
see,
rapping? I'd give it a wreck. That was in the good terms of wreck.
I mean, I'd say it's a rap.
Oh yeah.
Because that disrupted your style.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Do you still want to hear mine? I don't want to take away from your thunder.
You can, yes, go
Okay.
for it.
I did not prepare that.
Oh, here's my. Well, you've got your wreck of the week. Here's my wrecking or rapping. Really, real hard. Rhyme one too many bars. Bound to blow when I've been tied down so low with pent up rage and a penthouse to play. Give me the mic, give me the cam. Now I'm about to go ham. Killing like Kendrick, the feeling this. Only the realist don't realize Drake got no business being in business. Sick with the steel, sharp as a Sith at the mill. Pushing my buttons, watch how that works. You ain't feeling so well. Coming from me, I'm the king of the hill. So how would you describe
Bobby?
that? Wrecking or rapping? Must choose one.
So
What was that?
That was
I said you're like Bobby. I said like Bobby, I'm king of the hill.
Yeah.
so. Was that just someone's rap, or did you write that one?
I wrote it. Why would I say someone else? Well, I do say lots of other people's, but
All right,
it's
well,
the
I
wrecking
mean,
and rapping section. I
I
gotta
didn't know
write
you
those.
were starting your own diss, your Drake diss as well.
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone's getting on board because
Yeah.
we're sending these Canadians back to where they came.
Canada.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they can stay if they filed the proper
Is he
paperwork
actually-
and all that.
Is he born in Canada?
That's not.
He was-
Wrecking
Not
or
use
rapping?
facts.
You must choose one.
Well, I was
We
going
don't
to say
need facts,
racking,
we're
but
wrecking.
since you wrote it, I'm going to say it's a rapping because I thought it was a
Okay.
rip.
Mr. The Ben, do you have a vote?
You're a writer,
Yes.
not a biter.
I like to bite.
Oh.
We're ready for biting some Shakespeare. I wanted to give a powerful monologue to really give Ben the proper welcome. And so I've chosen from King Richard III. This is a famous one. Starts off, now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York. And with that, we can start noticing winter, discontent, cold, unhappy, glorious summer, happy, warm. And this is going to be from a guy named Gloucester. And he's often depicted with like a hunchback or just disfigured. So you'll hear him say things like, I was born half finished or stomped out, things like that.
Is he
Here
a
is.
Festus? Festus? The guy who
With
would make
the leg,
thunderbolts. Yes.
in ancient Greek, married to Aphrodite, cheated on with Mars or Ares.
Yes.
And then while that's happening,
Zeus.
Hephaestus makes a invisible net and he traps them in the bed. That's a fun little tale for the kids.
There's all types of
This is the
craziness
opening
in
monologue
mythology.
of King Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York, and all the clouds that lured upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are the brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fight the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I, that am rudely stamped, and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I, that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable the dogs bark at me as I halt by them, why I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun, and descant of mine own deformity, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover, to entertain these fair well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain, and hate the idle pleasures of these days. And I'll end it there, even though it continues, but it just starts the story. Any thoughts
long.
provoked by Gloucester?
It's not nice to tease dogs, so they bark at you.
No, the dogs are barking at him because he's so hideous and disformed.
Sounds like he's taunting the dogs.
Yeah, he
Usually
probably
dogs don't.
does things like that too.
They don't usually bark at random
because
people.
he's so angry that even in a time of peace, he's now going to start picking fights. So he probably picks fights with dogs, which is like a thing people do. They're weaker than you.
People don't actually treat him bad. They're just responding to the energy he's putting out there.
There's probably a lot of that, and especially if he's going around now making plans to cause more havoc. He's probably done that his whole life.
So people hate me, but like, why do they hate you? Well, because you're a jerk and you're mean to them. Yeah, I recently figured out that the way I respond to people is that I've figured out I'm just Cable. So
in what way?
I give back the energy I receive.
Oh,
Bishop.
That's what Cable's power is.
Bishop.
Yeah, Bishop. You're right. It's Bishop, not Cable. You're Bishop.
Cable's a
psychic.
Cable, Cyclops is. I was thinking of Cable because of that's as far as it got in the new X-Men show is at the beginning of the 3rd episode. That's why.
So last week we talked about our spirit animals, and the closest we got for Alex was an elk. Flizzo said they usually. Okay.
And you know reindeer are a real creature that exists, and they live in, I believe, Norway.
I looked this up, and they cannot fly. Right?
Allegedly.
Well, this is our scientific method. We've never seen it, then we can't. We've disproved it. But I proposed the goat because it has wrapping meaning.
Seen a reindeer?
Credit to LL
on Christmas
Eve.
Your Eve? Oh, Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So what if they fly? Prior. They only fly one day a year.
Yeah, it's possible.
Possible, yeah.
But so we went to medieval times recently, and the Green Knight is I guess his house emblem is like an elk or something, and his helmet, he had antlers on it, and I was like, all right, that's actually pretty cool. So I'm like, I could get behind that. So
you're gonna go with elk?
I mean, I can go with
something
elk.
In the elk family.
Yeah.
Are the rumors true about you, Ben, that your spirit animal would be the bear?
Would be a bear, because again, bears don't care about pretty much anything usually. Like, unless they're hungry, bears won't attack you, or like you're threatening them. But bears just kind of go about doing whatever and just don't care. And kind of what I do. So I said I just respond to the energy I'm given. That like I just like whatever, gonna go about doing stuff, and then maul things if I have to. Throw a seal around for fun.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Alex, I'm up to your wreck of the week. Did you have anything for us this week?
So I just want to make sure, because we never cement it. My wreck of the week is I can just complain about something, right?
Well, I like to say dismantle, remember? Rather than the negative connotation.
We'll still dismantle. Painter's Cape. painter's tape, man. Like,
Mm,
you know
I
how there's
can.
the normal blue scotch, and they're like, oh, this is just painter's tape. But then there's the green frog tape, and they're like, this is better.
Frog
It's
tape.
got this weird chemical in it, and it prevents leak. That does not prevent leakage. Like, it's all the
Did you
same.
buy the frog brand frog tape or
Yes, I bought
the
the
green?
expensive
Okay.
green frog tape, and I mean it doesn't leak nearly as much as the blue, but it still leaks. And it's very upsetting. But then I had to go back with a little hand paintbrush and touch up just the little tiny bits that leaked. And it was annoying. And so painter's tape is the thing I'm annoyed at right now. But the real
It
secret I've
works
heard
for
is what?
well, I said it works for
Uh,
spray paint. That's all I've ever used.
Well, that
Painter's
might be
tape is
fair.
for.
But the thing I saw that I haven't done yet, that apparently if you're painting something and you put up the painter's tape, paint the color that's already there first, because that will leak through. And then
And then
when you
fill it.
put your new color in, it won't leak because the leak part has already happened.
The gaps
And
are
then you'll get a
filled.
perfect crisp line.
But what if
This
I
has
don't
been a
have
very
the paint?
Yeah,
constructive
I don't.
wreck of the week.
Yeah, well, I've
You
spent
have
two
to have
days
the
this week
paint.
painting my living room, so
Alex apparently is very good at house painting.
it's,
This
Oh,
is what
that's
I've heard from people
nice.
over time. He's
yes,
also
I
good at
have a
cutting
pair.
tile.
They're
He's good
always
at cutting
coming to you
tile at 1 in
telling
the
me,
morning
hey, your
too.
brother is
So
so good at painting.
Well,
if you ever
apparently
need someone to cut tile at 1 a.m.,
yeah, like I apparently like
that's
paint a
Oh,
lot
yeah,
of
cutting
houses.
tile.
Well, I mean, I helped
no.
do Catherine's house. I painted Catherine's condo. Like
This should
it's
paint Jeff's.
Well, that was very nice of you. Oh, and
There was a conversation about painting Jeff's at one point. I don't know if
no
you actually did or.
Jeff ended up getting professionals and
Yeah.
painted like his whole house.
so the connection I'm making, so I'm going to be talking a lot about communism, basically as a means to an end to get to talking about propaganda. And the connection I'm making in my head is that Alex is the good kind of people that we need in communism, but those there's not enough of them. There's always a small percentage of sociopaths that then when you're in a system that is a utopia, they take advantage of it and ruins it for everyone. But so I'm going to start talking about the Communist Manifesto is 35 pages long, and Ludwig von Mises' Socialism, which is 540 pages long. This is everything good about communism. This is everything bad about communism. And which book do you think most college students read?
Well, does
Neither.
it say something about
Yeah.
communism if you bought the book
Well,
used?
we're what does it say? I don't
Well,
know.
the
Is
fact that
that's the
you
way
bought
they'd
the
want
book.
it, right?
You
Well, I
bought
guess he
the
did.
book. Goes against
Yeah.
communism. Why don't you go to the
Yeah.
public free library? Like,
But
library?
why doesn't my university provide these books if they're telling me I need them? You know,
Do
we all know the
you have
universities
a
are dead.
university?
This is
Well,
admitted by student loan forgiveness. A mistake is being forgiven. Universities may not be gone, but they will undergo a large-scale downsizing. If you want to improve at something, do the job. If you want to know HVAC, farms, or cars, there are people that will pay you peanuts a day to hold tools and screws, but your ego says you're too good for that. You disagree,
Some
the
of
Ben?
us. Some of us are very big supporters of student loan forgiveness and have gotten all their student loans forgiven
Yeah, but
by
it still
follow the
says
proper
that.
steps.
Well, by
But
the proper steps, that's a
I
different
followed the
situation.
proper laid out program. I followed all the requirements, despite the government having tried to trick people and do it. I got to be part of the. I think it got up to like 5% of people that got their loans forgiven. That 5% that applied that got them forgiven
And
because
my
they had
my
gotten
wife's my
trying.
wife's
It
on
takes
track to have hers forgiven, and yeah, it's a
10 years.
pain, and yeah.
have
Well, and, yeah,
have
and
you
also
tried
so yeah,
not
you have to
going to
work for the
college?
federal government, which
I
I mean,
mean,
have you tried it?
I for 20 something years I've tried it.
That's true.
I
I
mean,
mean, yeah,
And now
I definitely study much more now that I'm out of college.
you have to follow the proper rules and do what the programs say, and then
that
nothing
would
But
else
be
what I'm
past
saying is,
that.
when there's a blanket statement of like, oh, this is just gone, that is admitting that there was a mistake done.
But I
Yes,
feel
but
like
And
there's
also universities, my point is also talking about universities themselves sort of getting off the rails, teaching communism
well, they're for
when they're
profit.
charging
well, yeah,
outrageous
that's the problem.
amounts.
They're not regulated and they're for profit. It's ignoring that step. So that's not covering. Well, I guess maybe it's like we're gonna cover your mistake, but to allow the for-profitness of all schools, even
I
public schools.
I like the irony in the fact that the steps Ben has to go through to get what's it called forgiveness is
Hmm.
probably on par with the steps that Chris had to go through to get a disability.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as a similar
I
thing in
mean,
that, like, yeah, there
probably
are
worse.
paths that you have to do to get these
Oh,
things.
but the
They're
statement is that
available, but
they'll
if you're
tell
not
you
willing
it's
to walk down the
available,
path,
but they
oh,
Oh
won't
yeah,
tell
then
it's
make it
you in
very
available.
difficult.
advance like what you have to do like you had to
Uh,
hold paperwork for 18 like for the whole time from day
it
one.
was worse with mine because they changed the rules. You had to have 10 years
Mm.
of payments set up in a certain thing, and then at a certain time they changed it. Oh, you have to have this type of loan, but that loan wasn't offered when I got my loans. Oh well, so they got
So you say,
sued
no, not
and
oh
they made a
well. Yeah.
compromise. Yeah, no, there was a lot of people that just they
And
never got it that should have
I
because
I credit our oldest sister-in-law for the whole reason that I even got set up with the VA disability, because while I was in, and ETSing is getting out of the army, and while you're ETSing, there's all these briefings and people are like telling you like how to file this paperwork, and so I'm trying to do it, and my leadership that is still in is saying like, don't do that, and then are basically bullying me of like what is wrong with me if I were to do this. So there's like actively people trying to stop you from filing the paperwork as well.
because it would get you out of the army and they don't want that.
I mean, I was
No,
getting
it's
out
the
anyway,
paperwork you have
but
to, yeah.
it's, I don't know. It's
Well,
just
yeah,
because I
but
think
the
people think it's
idea is,
unfair. It's like, I don't have that, so you shouldn't get it.
but they could still get it. They
And
don't want you to.
well,
They
yeah,
don't
I
want to
know.
encourage people to
And
fill out the papers because that definitely means you're leaving. If
but they
you're like,
also,
oh, you're getting nothing, so you
Well,
should
no.
stay here and get paid.
there are
The
people
only
that don't want
argument
to
I
admit
have
they're
here
hurt too.
is if you've watched The
Mm.
Incredibles, the whole argument that is made with Bob, Mr. Incredible, while he's working for the insurance company is that, again, it's for profit and they don't want to have to pay out money. They're
Hmm.
in the business to make their shareholders money and not to actually provide people with the coverage.
That's why I hate
So yeah,
insurance too, because
it's
if they weren't making money, they would go out of business. So it's a scam.
it is a scam. I mean,
But
in
it's a
theory, it
required
Well,
works.
scam.
But
so with all this
yeah,
communism talk, I don't want people to think I'm saying that we've reached the promised land. There's certainly work to be done, but we should work on ourselves before criticizing others. So today's Bible reading I have prepared from the Sermon on the Mount, and I don't know if it's a parable or metaphor or expression that Jesus is going to talk about is people will criticize someone else saying, oh, you have a little bit of stuff in your eye, but they have a huge beam in their eye and they're not acknowledging it. So here is Matthew 7, verses 1 through 5. Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite! First cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote of thy brother's eye. End of verse.
does it actually say hypocrite?
Yeah.
Which is weird for the fact that none of the other words are like. I guess hypocrite
Yeah,
must be a
yeah,
very
because I
old
can read
word.
that. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't think hypocrite would
Why
be.
are you suspect of that? Jesus says hypocrite a lot in KJV,
I
or
mean,
he calls people.
I believe you should be reading the Presidential Bible
Why is that?
because it's absurd. That's why.
Oh,
And there's
I thought
actually
it was going to be very American.
there's two presidents that have their own Bibles.
Wow. But
Alex does not like how I do too.
I do.
I do
Christopher
3
does
like
a weird
this.
3. Yeah, see,
Yeah. It's interesting. Our hands have been
just
disformed.
3.
Oh, that's your 3? Is it? Oh, my pinky messing.
pinky down.
So continuing my, I don't know, history lesson or something. Well, we haven't gotten to history per se, but the KGB in the Cold War spread communism into American schools. Those kids became teachers. Teachers are susceptible to communism because it's sharing. The teachers saw themselves as social reformers and taught others the same. Students became communists. Any thoughts on that before I continue on a general same thought?
That if that's true, you're just describing the most hypocritical people ever. Then the communists that came after the Cold War would be the baby boomer generation, who are trying to destroy public education. So you're saying the people that were taught communism and equality and fairness throughout are the ones that are now trying to establish a system that is not for educating everyone.
But
And
are you talking about, when you say people that are trying to establish a system, are you talking about the people outside of the schools? Because I'm talking about the teachers themselves became the communists.
yes, no, I'm saying you're saying they taught and then they educated those people. The teachers taught that generation post Cold War, which would have been the people going to school through the 60s, 70s, which are now the older generation now, who are the ones that are very anti school tax and me paying for public education and all this stuff, or why should I have to pay? I don't have kids in school. But you're the one that benefited from this, and you're apparently, as you're saying, the one that was educated on communism. And now
Yeah, I
you're
could see
against
that.
it because
But where I'm going with that is that it becomes a closed loop, that those most close to communism would go back into the school system and then teach kids their beliefs. And this is how we're building up towards present day, where things have imploded and why the universities are going to downsize. Well, what I had to say was the 60s started generations of revolutions or revolutionaries, in part of the Cold War, the effects of World War II, Americans being exposed to LSD and mushrooms, and at the time there was social reform happening since there were different rules for different groups. But we're not in 1960s America anymore. Yesterday's protesters became parents and taught their kids to revolt. Now everyone is a rebel. Look at Star Wars. The rebels are the heroes. Now that everyone is covered in hair dye, piercing, and tattoos, tradition is how to stand out. I see your disapproving beard shake, the Ben.
yeah, you apparently do not know my stance on these things, or you are just goading me. The Empire was right.
So,
They
why would that upset you?
Because you said the rebels are the heroes. The rebels are the bad guys.
No,
yes.
Well, they're publicly accepted as the heroes. That's what I'm saying.
But like,
I'm not saying that they are
army.
true.
Like,
or the government. Yeah, the empire or the Roman Empire probably.
They're just the government trying to run international. They're trying to regulate so many planets. They have a trade committee that apparently
they
for
probably
some reason
do
nobody
have
cares
a
about.
bad leader,
which is
but
how important is trade, and this is also a thing that happens with communism is they take over and then people are going to be like, well, we don't want to work with you because we can't trade with you. You're not going to accept our money. So the trade systems break down.
They were trading. They had a whole committee about it. There's multiple scenes in a movie about it that people complain about all the time. The planet that was not cooperating with them, they had to be hostile with.
Well, to be fair, they did
I'm saying that
also start taking a lot
trading,
of resources on their own. Like they would go and
they
take
were all
the
part
gas
of their
planets
empire.
and things, and
they were all within their
I
empire.
don't
They were
disagree with you on the Empire being the good guys. I'm saying that when people go to see the movie, they think that the rebels are the good guys. I mean, that's how they
in
cheer when the Death Star blows up. That's like
because it looks
a
really
national tragedy.
cool. It looks it is, yeah.
It is like a
See,
whole continent
it
just being erased all at once.
Yeah,
yeah.
like how
So
many
many in
people
the
were on that?
yeah,
Oh,
a
they were
lot.
clones. Don't
That's
worry about it.
Well,
They're
but I
bad
no,
mean,
guys.
on that same foot, they blow up all around.
no. Yeah,
Like they
that's
destroy a planet as well. Like the
I mean, whose
Empire,
choice
like
was
isn't.
that? Princess
not
Leia could have stopped it real quick.
not saying they did. They're not. They don't do bad things. Yes, everyone is guilty of. Yeah, they're also just as guilty of war crimes. That is true, but
Oh,
they
Canada.
aren't the ones like even in A New Hope. Luke wants to go to pilot
He
school.
did.
He
Yeah,
wants
he
to
wants to go
join the
become.
Empire. Yes, he's going to go do that. And so it also shows why. So all those stormtroopers, they're people. They're just regular people.
They're
Yeah,
just
that
They're
was
poor
always
just
my
farmers.
understanding. I
murdering
feel like they
because
retconned it with the clones.
yeah.
Well, no,
No,
they
but then
argue. If you watch all the deep stuff, it goes
they
back to
tried
being
to.
Was like
people.
some.
No, I'm not watching Clone Wars or
You're not
Rebels
watching
or
8 years of cartoons and then 4 years of another
there's
cartoon and then.
there's another one in there too that I always continue to say I will not watch.
Samurai Jack.
What's the other one?
Oh,
No, I
is
watched
there
the last season Samurai
Those
Jack.
those
The
ones aren't
new
canon anymore, though.
what Samurai
so
Jack
when
or the
Well,
cartoons?
the Samurai Jack
What about?
guy created episodes of Clone Wars. That's not canon anymore.
Oh, okay.
Samurai
Because
Jack is all canon.
Samurai Jack.
Like the whole show is canon, and
No,
they
well,
put
because
it to
it
sleep
had
with the final season.
it had its normal run. I think it was 2 or 3 years, and then they came back and did a last season, and like they concluded it, like he was in the future. They eventually
Yeah.
Samurai Jack caught the
Went
months, like
home.
they had actually finished. I don't
Hakuma.
even know if he
When I was
goes
saying
home.
about Alex painting in Sir Thomas More's Utopia, citizens had to rotate being in the fields working, which reminded me of a joke from Soviet Russia. Once we're all free, who will push the plows? And the response is the slaves, of course. Social
Well, I was gonna
reform
say
for
the
large
horses.
groups is not about fixing things, but rather replacing one ruling class with another. What was that, Alex?
The horses.
Somebody still has to
That's
drive
what.
the horses.
I mean, oxen would be better, but yeah.
And you have to raise them, you have to feed them, you probably clean them.
No, made me
And
think
this is
of the a
given
joke
given
of-
no structure, they will just go over and stomp
fair.
the crops. Also, animals will eat the food as soon as it starts to grow. So
Yeah, but
you have to step in, or humans have to, and put
but
effort.
structure is nature, not nurture. Because if you watch
They-
any of the Planet of the Apes movies, they all fall into the same structure systems that humans had beforehand, even though the humans didn't teach them to do those sort of things. It's just that this is the system that does work.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd argue against it because I'd argue humans are special and we're given that structure by God. So why would the monkeys have it? So the director is
Monkeys don't
probably
have
God.
God.
because we have their
Have you
fingers.
read the Monkey Bible?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if God created the animals, would they not have the same God?
No, but they don't have the same relationship. They're not made special like humans are.
I can't
Made in the
argue
image
that,
of
but
God.
yeah, but they're still made special by God. I feel like they
Yeah,
would still.
but not as special as humans because humans have domain over them.
You know, but I would feel that they have
And
to have
their
some sort of
fingers
specialness
bend.
because God chose to save them. Because if he didn't care for them, then Noah's Ark
Yeah,
would
I
have been a
mean-
lot smaller.
Okay, I'm not saying that there is no specialness to them, but I'm saying that well, one, the idea of the talking monkey is a myth, and so it's all based on a myth, and we're the
Well, that's
only
fair.
talking
What
one
counts
because
as
we're
talking?
that special.
What counts as talking? Monkeys communicate to each other. That would be talking. If I'm a monkey,
Crows.
that's
Uh,
talking.
I don't know, but
Crows
this
imitate
sounds like a
human
bad
speech.
faith argument, as I said. That like
I was
unless
just talking about talking monkeys. I'll talk
unless
about
they're
monkeys.
they're picking up their Bible and preaching the words. I mean, like I said, John 1:1 in the beginning was the Word. So unless they have words, then they're not talking. And
I
grunts are
mean,
not words.
there's still plenty of time
Movements
for
are
the
not
monkeys to
words.
get to Lutheranism.
Yeah, I
Why don't
mean,
we just not be
I'm not holding
just
my breath for them,
be
though.
nice to the monkeys? Is it that hard?
We can be
Just
nice
don't
to
be
them.
mean to the monkeys.
No, I'm saying not to be nice to the monkeys. We have to treat them. We have to be good. It's not masters, but that's the word I'll use.
If you're not nice to
Anyway,
the monkey, who's gonna pull the plow?
A
exactly.
monkey would definitely pull a plow. You put a gorilla on that thing, that plow is
Yeah, why
moving.
haven't we started gorilla-powered vehicles and farm equipment?
Because they will rip your arms off for fun.
Ah, that's right.
Well, actually, that's an orangutan, I believe, is the one that would
I
do
didn't know
that.
Sure.
gorillas only
A,
weigh from 300 to 600 pounds.
a
Only,
gorilla will do it accidentally.
and it'll
I
be
felt like
like
they were a
all
lot
But
bigger.
muscle though,
yeah, well, no,
and also how
their
tall
muscle
are they?
density. Their density is
It's
like
hard to
10
measure.
times of a person. So like they can gorillas. They're incredibly strong.
I mean, yeah, that's also
So
that's nature versus
I
our human bodies are so soft and weak.
I don't know
But our
if you have
fingers bend
another
better.
next topic to jump to, but I was thinking that we've never discussed the Ben's version where he falls on the archetypes.
What
I have
archetype
lots
he
of stuff.
is,
Where am I?
Yeah.
or just what he
What I
has to
would be?
say.
Well,
I mean,
where
we
he
can talk about it.
falls.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
what is he? Well, I don't know if you know I guess the 12. Chris hates the everyman. We
I
have the
Some
accepted
of
it
it.
in
innocent,
some sense.
the sage, the explorer, the outlaw, the magician, the hero, the lover, the jester, the everyman, the caregiver, the ruler, and the artist.
Could be a ranger
A
or ranger.
ranger.
Army or park?
Like
Or I guess
Strider.
yeah,
So would that
yeah.
be explorer then?
I don't
I
know.
don't
The
know.
one
I
that
didn't
kind of
say
just.
ranger.
Yeah, I know.
Outlaw
I'm
is
just
that
thinking
one of them?
the class of. I
All right,
guess I'm
so a
thinking more
ranger
if
would then.
class would be because rangers
Yeah.
usually. Yeah,
But so
basically,
just
I've
describe
learned
your class. Why are you a
as I've
ranger?
gotten
Because you want to
older,
be out
I've
on
realized
your
more.
own,
Yeah,
doing your own
being
thing.
more be more ranger than I used to be. Very warrior of like whenever we played games. Like yeah, just gonna run into it. And
No, I
now I was
think
more of
that's fair. That would
the
fall as an explorer.
because it's more of like you just kind of wait back and respond than being the gonna go right up and do this and like view the situation of what's going on and go about doing things. You're just kind of there, not
Now, is that to be
it's
efficient with your
explore.
energy?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
That's one way to look at it. I'm like,
Which comes with the
why?
wisdom of getting older.
And just the not always the solution is not going to run and hit it with a sword. And you learn how to use arrows, and
Yeah.
I guess depending on if it's a world of magic, sometimes rangers can use magic, sometimes they do not. But the abilities to adapt and do what needs to be done, and you just kind of do.
Here,
So
here. So
Aragon is
I was finished with my communism rant, and that was all to get me into the propaganda because you might hear all this communist talk
we're
and
going to
think it
spread
doesn't
propaganda.
affect you. What's that?
So we're going to spread propaganda.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to talk about. Is that it's always being spread. But yeah, so I'm describing a large scale battle between good and evil fought over your soul through millennia. And here I want to talk about Edward Bernays' propaganda. Edward Bernays is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And I argue that he's the reason that we even know the name Sigmund Freud because we were propagandized into believing he's special and important in history. I mean, he did some stuff that was good, but not household name good. Like it doesn't make sense. He's a psychologist.
What's the difference between propaganda and a press release?
Well, when so
There isn't. It's the same thing.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna get to propaganda. The word became a bad word after Joseph Goebbels took this book and used it as his pamphlet or his Bible during Germany's World War II. And so
Germany
people,
had a different World War II than everyone else.
I don't want to say the one word, but it was that
Uh,
their propaganda. And so the word propaganda became PR, public relations. So it's still going on. We just call it a different thing,
really?
which is propaganda.
Well,
Propaganda
as
got
in
shortened to
PR.
PR, and then PR became public.
Well, it just got changed.
Public
I know, but
relations
like,
are usually a response to propaganda. So, like, you go and address things. So that's why, I mean, that would make
And maybe you'd
sense.
want to
But,
get in front of it as well. And even
I
these
mean,
kind of
well,
words like
that
get in
doesn't
front of
work.
it would be propaganda. So I'll tell you the quick story that's in his book, but I want to read a quote by H.G. Wells. And he did the War of the World prank, which would also be like considered propaganda, or at least understanding how people's minds can be molded. The short story was Edward Bernays was approached by Betty Crockett. They had a new product that basically had all the baking ingredients right in the box. You just mix it together, put it in
Betty
the oven,
Crocker.
and it wasn't selling. Yeah, I said Crockett, Crocker.
Yeah. You said,
Who's the
yeah, Betty
Davy
Crocker.
Crockett? Betty Crocker.
Davy Crockett.
The
Talk about Davy
product
Crockett.
wasn't
Down
selling,
with that.
so they go to Edward Bernays and say, "Why aren't people buying this?" He concluded that the housewives felt it was a job of theirs to cook for their family, and by using those products it was cheating. And he advised them, put
is
on
he
the
the egg
recipe on
guy?
the back, add an egg. Yeah, so as if
Yeah.
you just add an egg, they'll feel like they're following a recipe, and then it's a household name. So
I
this is just
think
an
they had
example
to
of this, you're
change
being
it. But
influenced.
yeah. I
Which
think
is,
they
yeah,
had to
you're
change
always
the
being
recipe to remove
influenced.
the egg.
People got angles. They're trying to get ahead of it. And I'm not the only one with a 3,000-year plan, you know.
Wow,
Are you
you
ready
have
for
like a
the
3-minute plan.
H?
Yeah. H.G.
Breathe, just
Wells.
keep breathing. The H.G. Wells quote in this book, Propaganda. So
Yeah.
he's talking about the power of communication, modern means of communication, the power afforded by print, telephone, wireless, and so forth, of rapidly putting through directive, strategic or technical conceptions to a great number of cooperating centers, of getting quick replies and effective discussion, have opened up a new world of political processes. Ideas and phrases can now be given an effectiveness greater than the effectiveness of any personality and stronger than any sectional interest. The common design can be documented and sustained against perversion and betrayal. It can be elaborated and developed steadily and widely without personal, local, and sectional misunderstanding. Any thoughts on that? Well, he's just saying that
No.
we're bombarded with information, and that information can be used to manipulate people. Last thing I got is the
Yes.
24 card. Did you guys end up solving it? I know the missus figured it out.
Yes,
I
I did.
yes.
And it
So
upsets me
not hard.
because it's the same as last week.
Oh,
Oh,
hit us
because-
with it.
So 8 minus 5 is 3, and then so 3 times 8 times 1. It's the
No,
same
you can't
problem I
use
said I had
times
last.
twice. You can't use times twice.
You can.
You're supposed to use each one once.
What?
No, I don't. I
No,
don't.
it changed the whole
that's
game.
Not, that's not
No,
a rule we
well,
play with. At least,
We don't
maybe
play by the actual rules. Again,
All
you
right, let me
apparently
get the
don't
rule
know
book.
me. Yes,
This
get
is
the
wrecking
rule
and
book.
rapping. We like
Yes.
to wreck
I
it
love
up.
the way Chris says that.
Rap.
All right, then
And
divided by 1.
Anyway, I think I
Divided
threw
by
away
Yes,
the
so
rule
it's
book
still
because
the
that's
same
how wrecking
answer.
and rapping
You
is
just have
to-
anyway.
But I didn't expect that. Like,
Yeah, I told you I'm here to wreck it. Of breaking your.
no, you're here to,
Okay,
to
Chris,
mess
it's
it, mess things up, or whatever it was.
You could
the
say, "I'm here to wreck
non-copyrighted.
it."
Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
here
I
to
guess you're
wreck
not
it.
going to.
No, in the Chip and
I'm
Dale
coming
movie,
to wreck
when
it.
he turns to
Wrecking will commence.
I'm gonna wreck stuff. That's what he says. Instead, he turns because he's the bootleg version. Chip and Dale movie's pretty good. If you haven't seen
It's a
it,
good movie.
Yes.
Chip and Dale. Anything else
And then-
for the people?
Gotta give the people what they want. I don't know. What do you want to? I can
Okay.
complain about. We can talk about anything.
Do you have
Do
anything you want to promote, the Ben, before we throw our socials out?
You can. What do I have to promote? I don't do anything. I go to work. I have kids. I have to run this weekend. It's gonna rain. Watch Fallout. It's a good show. There's lots of stuff in it
we'll
that's
end on
references
promoting
to
exercise rather than watching
because
TV shows.
I want to make them to make the new game, another game. So I want people to watch it. If people watch it,
The
they'll
other
make
day,
another
people
game.
asked me like, "Why do people run?" And the only real answer I have is because people like medals.
Self-hatred. I mean,
Yeah, no one
Yeah,
enjoys
keep setting
running.
goals. Toil the soil. Cross the finish line.
Can't let myself win.
Make sure to follow Alex on all social media under CU3Scott and follow him on Google Maps, my website, drawingmylifeaway.com. If you would, please give us a like or a comment, anything to let us know that somebody is still watching at this point.